There we go. It looks like maybe we are live. I don't know if you've noticed, but the internet's having trouble today. I wasn't sure there are all kinds of different things that are affected or not affected. So here we are. It's working. For our Convivial Circle members who are here, um, the app might be down, notifications might be off or weird, and the browser version is sometimes working and sometimes not. So there's a bunch of the servers that Amazon runs are down, and a lot of services use Amazon's servers. So things are just a little bit off on the internet today, and we will make do. I'm glad that this is still working so we can join today and talk about our daily card. All right, I think I see a bunch of highs, so I'm going to assume that you can all see and hear me. All right. So your daily card is the real workhorse of your planner. The weekly dashboard that we talked about last week feels like your planner. It's helping you think ahead and be prepared and just kind of wrap your head around what's going on in your life right now. And that's huge. But we need to narrow our focus for a day. So if we are looking at the whole week all the time and trying to filter on the fly what we should be working on next, then I think we still will tend to feel more overwhelmed than we need to be. So we do need the weekly dashboard. We need some kind of view that helps us wrap our head around what's going on. And then we also need to zero in on what is most important today. And then we need to keep that list front and center. And really, I think the daily card, it's really the making of the daily card that gives us the most benefit, even more than working from it. We should be working from our daily card. But the exercise of writing it is what clarifies our thinking and reminds us of our priorities, so that as we go through the day, and whether we're working from the daily card or the weekly dashboard, we know where we're at and we know what's most important. Because knowing what's most important, I think, is the key that most of us are missing. We might have a kind of nebulous sense of what's important, but it's not actually informing our moment by moment decisions. So as we work through the planner setup and we're putting our different pieces together, the daily card is the piece where you really begin to understand what's going on in your life and what you need to put in front of your face every day and what makes the biggest difference day to day. And the good news is that a card that you make every day, you get the most practice in making. So every day is a fresh start with a daily card. And that's one reason why I love making it a Post-it note that gets changed out every day. Like every day you get a tiny little fresh start, a retry. So, your weekly dashboard is getting all marked up and adjusted and messy. It should be getting messy throughout the week. But your daily card, you get a fresh one every single day. You get a restart. You get to apply what you have observed and learned and are thinking each day. And so when we can practice it that often, we get better and better at doing it. We learn faster and we apply faster by doing it every day. So sometimes you might be tempted to pick what is most important every day ahead of time during your weekly review. But life at home changes too quickly to do that well. So the big picture for the week is on your weekly dashboard, but the daily card is made fresh every day so that you can assess what's actually happening, how things are really unfolding, what your priorities really are, and you get to remind yourself that you're not doing it all, that you can't do it all, and that you are going to still do what's most important. Even though you can't do it all, you are going to identify and do what's most important. So, what is the daily card? So far, I've just kind of assumed this vocabulary. The daily card is our name in Convivial Circle for your daily top 3. So if you buy yourself a pre-printed planner, odds are you will have a top 3 that is printed on there somewhere for every day. It's a very common piece of advice. I did not make this up. Instead, I read it everywhere and really argued with it for years and years until I finally admitted that the general consensus was correct on this. And the more that I've practiced choosing a top 3 every day, the more freeing it is, the more clarity I have about my life and my choices, and it really fits every season of life. What goes on your daily card during different seasons of life will be totally different. But the practice of writing down your top 3 every day changes the way you are thinking about your day and your life and your responsibilities and your tasks, and brings realism to your planner. Because so often when we are in planning mode, we go into idealistic mode. And I think it's actually the fact that we get to do the daily card every single day that helps us get out of that. Because if you only plan once a week, you do your weekly review, you can maintain or go into an idealistic mode easily. But if day after day after day, you come to the end of the day and you look at your daily card and you say, that was not realistic. That's not what happened in my day, because I did all the things I needed to do that weren't actually the things that I planned to do or put on my list to do. Something's actually wrong with the list, not with what I'm doing. Most people who practice the daily card come to realize that their planning problem is what they're writing down more than what they're actually doing. And so when we can match those up and remind ourselves with our written lists of what we really should be doing, and we then know that the plan that we have written down is true and real and fits our life, we believe it more, we trust it more, we're much more likely to follow it. Because if we are used to planning in a perfectionist mode, planning in the idealistic mode that says, I'm going to do all the things, then, or what actually happens is we don't really count the majority of the work that we're doing as worth writing down or worth being part of our plan. And so when we make a plan, we're actually piling more on top of our real life instead of planning our real life. Because we think a plan will help us do so much more. And so what we end up planning is actually a bunch of extras that we don't have time for, so we don't get to it. And then if we're used to our planner being wishful thinking, extras, we don't pay attention to it because it's not actually serving us. It's the tool that's not fitting the job. And so we rightly ignore it at that point. And so I think that it's through the daily card practice that we get to iterate every day and evaluate every day how we actually did in identifying what was important, that all of our plans improve. We get so much better at the weekly review and putting together our weekly dashboards and writing our running lists and moving things off to the someday maybe, when every day we're looking at, did I do what mattered? Yes or no? Is what I wrote down what really mattered today? Turns out not. So one of the stories about the daily card that I like to tell is the season of my life, and this is where I was just getting over my resistance to choosing a top 3. I was still kind of fudging, for sure. And we're going to talk about legitimate ways to fudge your daily top 3 in a minute. But the top 3 for the day, the 3 things that have to happen today, I made myself put smile at the kids, or just smile on that list. That's not the kind of thing I ever put on my lists before. All my lists were always tasks, projects, objective, concrete, other things to do. But at this season in my life where I was doing this, I had 5 kids under 10, and I was trying to find time to do these extra tasks and projects that I had put on my list. And so I was like in thinking, strategy, problem solving mode inside my own head all the time, which on my face looked frowny, looked upset, looked troubled, even though like I wasn't actually mad at anybody. I wasn't irritated. I wasn't upset. I didn't think I was upset. But the thinky, problem-solving mode made my face look like I was. And then that was creating the atmosphere that my kids were growing up in. They were all little. And just picking up the tone and the facial expressions and absorbing my facial expressions and my moods and my attitudes more than words or deeds. And so I recognized that the most important habit I could build and the most important thing I could do was to change my attitude, to change my face, and to intentionally smile into my children's eyes. If they came into a room, I would look up and smile at them. I made sure that the first thing that I did in the morning, the first thing they saw was mom smiling at them. And it was several months. It was like 2 or 3 intervals, which we're going to talk about next week. So an interval for me is about 6 weeks. And so it's not just that smile was added to my list as a reminder, like an extra bonus word. And so I saw the reminder. Seeing the reminder on my daily card definitely helped. But what I have found really works about the daily card and only having 3 spots on your daily list is that you're acknowledging to yourself that this will take up time. This will take my energy. And that's okay. I have decided that my time should be used this way. And so I'm not trying to fit in as much as possible. I'm trying to be sure that my time is used in the best possible way, and this is how to use my time. And like smiling doesn't really take up that much time. But it meant I had fewer slots to do other things. And that's what I needed at that time, was to be reminded, this is what matters. And those other projects that you have going on and the tasks that you think you would like to have happen, they don't deserve that spot. They are free time activities. That's not your real work right now. Your real work is raising these children. And smiling matters so much more than catching up on the laundry. And eventually it got to the point where then it was much more natural, and I didn't need that to take up the mental space or the visible reminder, because I built the habit and changed the atmosphere of our home. But for a time, it really worked to put it there. And it was a discipline. It felt like a discipline move for me at first, because I wanted tasks on my list, and I didn't get to have a task in that slot. And so it was so much more than checking things off that made the daily card work. It really is the exercise. And so after that, I would put, and I still do put, homeschool as one of my top 3 every day. And it's not because if I didn't put it on my top 3, I wouldn't do it. Like, I need to be reminded, kind of like I did need to be reminded to smile at a certain point in my life. I don't need to be reminded now to homeschool. It's something that's going to happen. We've been doing this for a long time. We have our rhythms, we have our routines, they're going to happen. But what I need to acknowledge on my daily card is that this is what the day is for. It's going to take time, and anything else is gravy. Gravy does not belong on the daily card. Gravy goes on the running list. What matters is, did we do the important things today? The things that this day was for. So I know that you do, and I do, much more than 3 things in a day. And so it's not about limiting what you get done, but it is about clarifying where your time should be going and acknowledging that you are putting your time and attention where it matters most. So when I put homeschooling on my daily card, I'm saying a significant chunk of my day is going towards this. That means I don't have room in my day for other things I might like to do. And I need that reminder to myself. I need that practice in my life of choosing and then acknowledging that I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Because we all are so tempted to say at the end of the day, I didn't get anything done. And if our definition of getting anything done is getting our whole checklist done, then we're just setting ourselves up for failure. Of course, we're not going to get our whole checklist done. That's not real life. Instead, we need to be able to say, today, I did the things that mattered. I would have liked to do more of the gravy tasks. I would have liked to knock out more from the extras list, but I did what mattered. And those things that matter are going to change in different seasons of your own life. They're going to be different for everyone. You know, your list is never going to be the same as someone else, and someone's never going to be able to tell you what your top 3 should be. This is where we have to stop looking for a boss to tell us what to do and start, being attentive, engaged, strategic, and disciplined for ourselves. And then we can pass those skills on to our children when we have them. But it's less about completing a checklist and more about noticing and doing what truly matters. And it actually takes time and practice to figure that out. It isn't something you can just do as a thought experiment and then, move forward and apply that. It is the process of practicing the daily card and choosing the top 3 and figuring it out by doing it that it ends up making a difference in your life. So a daily card is definitely something that you should try before you believe it will work, before you have it figured out, before you even know what your priorities are. Like, just make a guess. It's just one day. Try it. And then at the end of the day, think about it. And then try again the next day. And it's in the trying, when you're in the thick of it, evaluating your life in these small increments, and then having the ability to make an adjustment, get a fresh start, that I think you start to feel more comfortable with your life and your capabilities and your responsibilities. So learn by doing with the daily card. And one of the key practices with a daily card is, if you do your top 3, you must count your day as a win. If you put smile at the kids, do 2 loads of laundry, feed everyone, and you do that, then you're not allowed to say, I didn't get anything done today. You have to acknowledge that you did the most meaningful things for today. And we all start somewhere, and we are in different seasons. But there is definitely, postpartum or different kinds of survival mode seasons where, yes, doing 2 loads of laundry and feeding everyone lunch and dinner that's our top 3. And we might not get to anything beyond that, but we didn't do nothing. Every day, our attention and our energy should be going somewhere. So the daily card is a practice of understanding what is important, where your energies should be going. No matter how insignificant your energy feels, you have some and it's going somewhere. And so your daily card acknowledges that your limited resource of your attention and energy need to go into these 3 things before anything else. That is living a rightly ordered life. And it takes iteration, it takes practice, and it is a constant adjustment. It is something that we do fresh every day because it changes. And we just get better and better at recognizing where we're at and what's needed the more practice we have. And then our planner the plan that we're making just naturally evolves and adapts with our life as we are doing this daily reassessment. Yes, Rachel has a great tip. She says, if you need to, set a timer for 5 minutes and know that you have to have your top three picked by then. Overthinking will kill your choice for the top three. Like, make it so that you don't have to overthink it. Because, like, if you end up picking the wrong top three, you get another chance tomorrow. So it's not a big deal. You learn by practicing. So just pick, and then at the end of the day, see how you did, and just be honest with yourself. Did you pick wishful thinking top three, or did you fritter away your time, and did you avoid what's important? And those are two completely different problems that I think the daily card allows us to identify which problem we have faster and learn and improve and adjust faster based on which it is. And all of us are going to do one or the other at different times. But if we're making a daily card, we will not be able to hide it from ourselves. We'll be confronting whether we're doing wishful thinking planning or whether we are frittering away our time with distraction and avoidance. And maybe that would be a great thing to talk about in the monthly topic chat. Or for those of you who are here in Convivial Circle, share with your weekly top three, with your accountability group. Which of these are you currently struggling with most, and how can you adjust your plan accordingly? All right. Well, thank you so much for coming today and for being a part of Organize October. If you don't get the reminder emails for Organize October, then you can go to simplyconvivial.com/October and sign up and get the daily prompts and episodes that are out all month long. You can share it with your friends, simplyconvivial.com/October. And all this week, we are going to be working on our daily card habit.